Once again, welcome everyone to SportsRecruits' presentation on the importance of September 1st. Really exciting topic that we're going to go over with all of you tonight. We'll start off just by introducing ourselves. My name is Mike. I'm a senior recruiting analyst here at SportsRecruits, working with people who are looking for additional support in the recruiting process more than anything else, whether it be communicating with college coaches, video support, understanding of NCAA rules and regulations, which goes right into what we're going to be talking about tonight. My personal background, I played the sport of football in college, also had a chance to coach as a GA at the Division II level as well. But more than anything, we're really excited. This is one of our favorite webinars we do every year. So thanks everyone for who is watching live and also who's going to be watching in the recording later on also.
Awesome. My name's Emily. I'm head of student athlete success over here at SportsRecruits. I work with our recruiting analyst team. As Babbage said, team of specialists who work one-on-one and provides personal support for those going through the recruiting process. And I also work with our customer success specialist team. So that's a team of individuals. Whenever you're emailing in to help at SportsRecruits and you have questions, we're hoping to help you, access your account and really anything like that. A little bit about my recruiting process. I was strictly looking Division III, where I ended up playing basketball at a small liberal arts school called Franklin and Marshall College. During my time there, I worked in the athletic department. I worked with various different teams, and I was also the assistant to the associate athletic director. So yeah, like Mike said, really important date coming up. So we're really excited to discuss that and give you the steps that you should be taking and really just talk about how SportsRecruits can help you along the way.
That's perfect. So in terms of the agenda of what we'll be discussing, everyone, we're going to start off. I'm just going to walk everyone through just the significance of what September 1st actually is, who specifically is impacted by this date, what you could expect moving forward. And then Emily's going to give us a breakdown of how to know where you stand with the schools that are on your list, what steps you can take moving forward, and how you can utilize SportsRecruits to help and really take a positive step in the right direction when it comes to this recruiting process. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So the importance of September 1st, more than anything, if you are in the class of 2026, so anyone who is going into their junior year, that is going to be the first phase of how you're going to realize if this is something that you are going to be affected by or not. The next piece is going to be what sport you play. If you are someone who is a current softball athlete, men's lacrosse athlete, or women's lacrosse athlete, September 1st means that this is the date that college coaches can initiate or engage in recruiting-related discussions with any of these student athletes, and that can include phone calls, emails, text messages, anything that's happening not in person, ultimately. Some of you may have noticed on some of the recruiting calendars that are out there with NCAA Division I athletics, you may see that there is a dead period going on in the sport that you compete in. That has no effect on what September 1st is actually about, because September 1st is a day where a coach could reach out to you and say, hey, you are someone that we are targeting for the class of 2026. A dead period is specifically talking about limiting in-person contact, meaning they wouldn't be able to host any prospect camps or see you at a showcase or things of that nature. But in terms of reaching out and letting you know that they have direct interest in you and want to continue that recruiting conversation moving forward, that is what the significance of September 1st is going to be for you moving forward. So again, I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
Yeah, no, and I just think too, like all of these NCAA rules are for the college coaches, right? There are no rules for the student athletes. And I'm sure, we'll talk about this frequent in tonight's conversation, but, you can reach out to a college coach at any time. You don't need to wait until that September 1st date. In fact, you should have been reaching out before this date, especially if you are interested in those Division I programs. So I think it's just important to note that sometimes, prospective student athletes and their families think that these rules apply to them, but they're strictly for the college coaches.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I know people may have questions about what we're detailing through tonight's conversation. I don't believe we mentioned. Feel free to utilize the Q&A box in the chat box if anyone does have anything there. We'll try and cover them as we go through, but we also save time at the end to answer any questions that anyone throws in there as well. So really the biggest thing, just to go back to that original slide, to Emily's point, this is specifically for the college coaches and how they can communicate with you. They can now say, we are interested in you as a student athlete. We would like to speak to you on the phone. We would like to get a visit scheduled with you at some point in the near future. Those are the types of conversations that can happen on September 1st. And after that, that currently cannot happen with Division I schools right now. So again, to go into that just a little bit deeper, student athletes entering their junior year of high school who are in the class of 2026 who compete in men's lacrosse, women's lacrosse, or softball. You can see we have a list of communication rules to know moving forward. And you can see that this September 1st date in those three sports, it opens up communication regarding any sort of contact you're having, setting up unofficial or official visits, and also any sort of off-campus contact, meaning if you were to see someone after this dead period has completed in the sport that you're in, if they saw you at a showcase, if they saw you on the sidelines, whatever it might be, they are able to have much more of a freer type of conversation with you as long as that recruiting calendar allows them to do so. So again, keep in mind, if in terms of people who weren't sure when a visits were going to start, what that next phase is going to look like, this is really going to be when a lot of those changes can start happening. But again, keep in mind, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get that contact right away. And we'll talk more about that later as well. I know typically when we do this slide, another question that pops up a lot too is what is the difference between an unofficial and official visit? Just to give everyone a quick definition of that, an unofficial visit means that you and your family are paying your own way to get to the school and pay for your own accommodations like a hotel, your meals, things of that nature. An official visit means that the school is going to be taking care of a lot of those things for you. So if you're staying at a hotel, they take care of that. They set you up with, a meal ticket if you're eating in the dining hall, whatever it might be. That's really the biggest significant difference when it comes to the difference between an official visit and an unofficial visit. In terms of your expectation on September 1st, we kind of alluded to this. Again, the coaches can contact you freely through email, phone call, and text, even, social media as well. But also there is potential that there are going to be people out there that may receive an offer to have a verbal commitment right off the bat. However, that's something that we definitely have seen not as much of over the last few years. It seems like the recruiting process definitely has extended, has been pushed out a bit more. And there's a number of reasons as to why we expect that to happen. But more often than not, if you are receiving feedback, if you are hearing from college coaches on September 1st or shortly after, it's just to give you a heads up. Hey, we want to let you know that you're on our radar. We're excited to take this next step of the process with you. Let's get on the phone sometime soon. Let's get you to come check out campus whenever you have the time. It's more going to be that preliminary type of conversation. So then they can get to know about you a bit more because they have been so limited in what they can understand about you in terms of knowing you, not just as someone on the field, but also as a person and making sure that you're going to be a good fit from a character perspective and everything else that comes with recruiting as well. So I think now we're going to have Emily kind of just go through, how do you know where you stand and also the steps that you can take to really take advantage of the state moving forward.
Yeah, so as Mike said, some of you may receive an offer. We have been seeing just the recruiting process in general being on the slower side in terms of giving out those offers around various sports. We believe a lot of that has to do with the transfer portal as well. So, September 1st comes, and I know someone actually wrote in, since September 1st is on a Sunday, does that change anything in terms of what to expect? I would say no. College coaches, they're working over the weekends. It's an important date for them as well. They're excited about this date to be able to engage with student athletes and be able to, as Mike said, really initiate those conversations and initiate those relationships. So, my opinion would be it wouldn't change. Mike, I don't know if you have a different opinion with it being over the weekend.
Yeah, you may see some contact roll into the second. That's something that we haven't really seen too much of a expectation of, I would say. But, more often than not, it's that first week once September 1st hits is when we really start getting that contact. So again, even if you don't hear from any coaches, we're going to talk more about that, why that isn't the end of the world for those who do want to play at the D1 level. But yeah, definitely be patient when it comes to this because coaches may want to take a little bit more time, but ultimately we expect a lot of communication to start on September 1st for those who are going to be getting something.
Yeah. And to really know where you stand, I would say the biggest thing is, did you get a phone call, right? Some college coaches are calling, right on that September 1st date. Did you get a personalized email, where they're using your first name? They're maybe referencing if they saw you at an event or they appreciate all the follow-up you've been doing. Those are some key ways you can see if it's a personalized email. Sometimes too, college coaches may reach out to your club or high school coach before September 1st, letting him or her know, hey, I'm really interested in Mike. I'm going to give them a call on September 1st, or, I'm really interested in Mike. Do you know, or can you give me some feedback about him as an athlete, as a student athlete? And then finally, I think too, if September 1st comes and goes, to know where you stand as well is maybe have that conversation with your athletic advocates about your target list. Hey, coach, I have these X amount of D1 schools on my list. Have you heard from any? And then maybe even taking it a step further, are these a good athletic fit for me? Do these make sense to have on my list? And should I be focusing on these? But these 4 bullet points are really good ways for you to figure out, where you do stand with some of those D1 schools on your list.
Exactly.
So steps moving forward, as Mike said earlier, and we're going to say this throughout tonight's presentation, just want to jump to the final bullet quickly. Don't panic if you do not receive a call or an email on September 1st. College coaches, how it really works is they have certain buckets, right? They're reaching out to the first bucket of student athletes, then they're going to the second, and then they're going to the third. So it's definitely going to come in waves. If you feel, a week or two goes by and there's some Division I schools that you're surprised you haven't heard from, right? You've been reaching out to them for the past year, 2 years, they've seen you play. We recommend what we call a feet to fire email. So what this feet to fire email is, hey coach, I'm really interested in your program. I'd love to see where you are in your 2026 recruiting class and if you're still looking for an attack. I love to hop on a phone call, to learn more about where you are and learn more about your program. Now, you should only be sending that type of message if you have sent previous message to them in the past. That should never be the first message you send to a college coach. This should be after you've sent your introduction message, updates about academics or athletics, if you are attending an event, letting them know you're going. So if you're in this presentation and you're like, I haven't even sent any message to Division I college coaches, that's fine. You probably want to start with that introduction message first. Let them know who you are, why you're interested in their program, share any video. And then from there, as you continue to communicate with them, then you can move into that feet to fire message. As always, though, as you're continuing through your recruiting process, communication will be so, so, so important. It's not advantageous to sit back and let these college coaches come to you. So you should continue to update them with any athletic or academic updates. So whether that be I'm attending events, I have a new highlight reel, hey, I just received my test scores, I got this, or maybe even setting up a phone call, again, to learn more about the program and see where they are in the recruiting process. Also, too, September 1st goes by, a couple weeks go by, and you aren't hearing from those Division I schools. It'll be really important to reevaluate your target list of schools and maybe expand that a little bit more. Have you ever thought of playing at Division II, Division III, a JUCO program, and really leaning into your athletic advocates, your parents, and your guardians, just to make sure you have a good amount of reach fit and safety schools on your list, both academically and athletically?
Yeah, it's like I kind of expand on that a little bit too. I think one thing just to keep in mind, especially for those who do have the ultimate goal playing at the Division I level, I think it just, again, this isn't trying to, make someone think about it differently or, lower your expectations at all. But I think at the end of the day, it's important to note that it is more competitive to play Division I sports now than it ever has been before. Emily mentioned the transfer portal before, where you're not just being evaluated against other 2026 student athletes anymore. You're also being evaluated by the person who thought they were going to get more playing time at the school that they were at, but now they have some great tape that they're sending to other programs. So just keep in mind that having that wide variety, at the very least, what it's going to do, it's going to increase your overall interest from other places, and it's going to make you more prepared for what those eventual conversations might be with D1 schools down the road as well. A D2 or a D3 coach may be more open-minded to a phone call or, talking to you through a Zoom meeting now, where that might not necessarily be the case with a D1 school because you're just not on the radar just yet. So really can't stress the importance of, again, have that goal, continue to shoot for the stars from a Division I perspective, but make sure that you're not putting all of your eggs in that one basket.
Yeah, totally. That's great advice. Cool. So how can sports recruits help, moving forward in this process post September 1st? First, it's really important that you're having an online presence with your sports recruits profile, your IW or IM. It's really important you have that filled out with all relevant information and you're constantly updating that. information that must be on there: graduation year, position, hometown, video. Video is so important in the recruiting process. College coaches use video to further evaluate you and really know if they would want to move forward with you. Maybe that's having you on a visit. Maybe that's inviting you to a camp to see you play live. Think of this as like your athletic and academic resume. Um, College coaches want to be able to recruit from the comfort of their own home. And the way the Sports Recruits profile was designed was from college coach feedback. Coach, what's the most important information you need from a prospective student athlete? That's how our profile is designed. So, really important that you have all of that filled out, but then also, too, you're continuing to update that as you go through the recruiting process.
Yeah, I think it's really important to make sure that you have all that information really built out and to really stress the importance of video because coaches, they have that ability to see you, not necessarily in person all the time. Really just make sure that you are kind of putting the resources behind that and making videos that really showcase and give them a chance to evaluate you further. So that's a great point for sure.
Yeah. And then building your target list. I saw a question coming here actually. How do you know if a school is the right fit? And here at Sports Recruits, we talk about just the holistic fit, right? It's not just the athletic fit, it's not just the academic fit, but we've really put it into these 5 buckets here when you're really evaluating a school, evaluating a program, and things you should be thinking about. So we have the academic fit, we have the athletic fit, we have the geographical fit, the social fit, and then finally the financial fit. So, some questions you should be asking yourself with the academic fit. Does that school have a major you want to study in? Do you want to be in bigger classrooms, 400-person auditorium for a class? Would you rather have those smaller classes? Some of you may be like, Emily, I'm a junior, I'm a sophomore, I have no idea what I want to study, and that is totally fine. Is there anything that piques your interest? Are there any classes that you could see yourself really enjoying? Athletically, thinking about the division, but also going beyond that, do you want to play for a program where you're going to be able to start your freshman year? Or are you okay going to a more competitive program where you may not see the field or court until your junior or senior year? Geographically, climate's important. Do you want the 4 seasons? Do you want to be somewhere cold, somewhere hot? But then also distance from home. Are you okay, jumping on a plane and going across the country? Or would you rather be closer to home? Parents, guardians, friends, and family are able to come see your games or matches. Socially, size of the school. Do you want to go to a smaller school, a bigger school? Is Greek life important to you? Do you want to study abroad? And then finally, the financial fit definitely comes, when you really start to narrow down that list, but is definitely a discussion that all families should be having. We have a lot of great resources on our content center that just talks about the different ways to pay for college, and how to think about that. A lot of families just see the price, we call it the sticker price, and think, whoa, that is a lot of money. I don't know if we can afford that. But also, Mike is going to be putting on a webinar tomorrow, actually talking about college admissions and, scholarships and FAFSA and things like that for those of you who are interested in that. But that's definitely part of finding that fit. And we tell families, if you can check 4 or 5 of these boxes, you found the right fit for you. I think it's important to, we have right here, this process is fluid. Your likes and dislikes in schools are going to change. Just because a school's on your list now doesn't mean it needs to be there until the very end. But if you are first starting off this process, we encourage you to have anywhere from 20 to 30 schools. Again, making sure you have a good amount of those fit, reach, and safety schools, both academically and athletically, leaning in to your athletic advocates, your club coach, your high school coach, to really go through what's a reach, fit, and safety for you athletically. And then academically, leaning into a teacher or maybe a guidance counselor, to really figure out what's the fit for you there.
Awesome.
Now, with the SportsRecruits school search tool, this is free. You're able to search for schools based on really the criteria that we were just speaking about. So location, academics, major, athletics. You can get really specific in terms of what criteria is important to you. And then keep in mind, each of these pages are contingent on your gender and your sport. So if you're a women's lacrosse player, if they don't have a women's lacrosse program at that school, it will not appear in this search. And then each school has its own landing page where it has all of the information academically, athletically, financial information. So you don't need to be in a ton of different sites and you can really stay in Sports Recruits to really learn all about specific programs. Video. So we talked about video already, but it is so important that you have video on your profile. You know, college coaches are 11 times more likely to send messages with to users with video on their profile. You know, college coaches, they aren't always able to see you live, as Mike was saying. So video is really the next best thing. If you have a free account or a pro account with SportsRecruits, it does not matter. You are able to upload or embed an unlimited amount of videos. You're able to embed with YouTube, Huddle, or Vimeo. We also have a partnership with Sideline HD, and you're able to, you know, sync your Sideline HD videos onto your SportsRecruits profile as well. What's really great too is a lot of student athletes and their families really use the video library section to keep all of their video in one place. So you can use it to stay organized. You're able to toggle your video to visible or not visible to appear on your profile. And then we also have the featured video, which goes at the top of your profile for college coaches to see. But, you know, can't stress enough how important video is. You should have a highlight reel. Some people have a highlight reel and skills video, so college coaches are able to see their technique, and even raw footage. College coaches want to see that. They want to see, you know, how you're acting when you're not, you know, the main character, let's say. So definitely have all of those 3 types of videos on your profile.
Yeah. And just to specifically talk to the softball athletes who might be watching this, one thing that comes up a lot, particularly with baseball and softball, is, you know, the increase of teams that have access to Game Changer and sites like that, where you get the in-game clips much more available. One thing that we always recommend as well is trying to consolidate and make that video more digestible to college coaches. Sometimes when you have 15, 20, 25 individual clips, coaches don't really know where to get started or, you know, what's going to be the best introduction to you, really, more than anything else. So our recommendation is utilizing that built-in highlight reel editor, combining those clips into one video, so then coaches have a chance to see that, and that essentially becomes your highlight reel at that point. Definitely make
Yeah.
sure you are starting off with your best clips at the top of that. So, you know, your home runs, if you're a pitcher, your best strikeouts, things of that nature. But that's just something I think is really important to note specifically for that sport, because it could become a little overwhelming for a coach to see a number of clips all in one spot there.
Totally. You want to make it as easy for the college coach to evaluate you as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And lacrosse, kind of same idea, but usually, you know, highlight reels are definitely more commonplace in that
Yeah.
sport. But it was worth noting, at least for the softball people who, you know, are relatively new to kind of getting that in-game footage for the most part.
Yeah. Now, SportsRecruits also has a messaging system. This is a pro feature. So if you have a pro subscription with SportsRecruits, you have access to this. As I was saying earlier, communication is so important. Don't sit back. You have to reach out to these college coaches to get their attention. Similar to how the school search is set up, it is contingent on your gender and your sport. So if you're a men's lacrosse player, you don't need to worry about emailing the women's lacrosse program. All you need to do is type in the name of the school and a drop down appears. You can click on that college coach's name and it automatically embeds the email for you, saving you a ton of time from gathering that information yourself. Now, when you do send a message, as you can see from this little video here, there is a link embedded. When a college coach clicks on this link, they get taken directly to your SportsRecruits profile and you get alerted all in real time. This level of transparency is really great. These messages hit a college coach's inbox like any other. And it just makes it really easy, again, to have all of your recruiting information in one place, right? If you're using your Gmail, you have all spam coming in, you have maybe other stuff, everything is in one place. And it is so easy for you instead of pulling all of those college coaches' emails yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, we definitely want to talk about the reasons you should be reaching out to college coaches. So if you're first starting off the process, it's really important for you to send that introduction message. So letting the college coach know who you are, why you're interested in their program. You don't need to send a very lengthy email with all of your accolades and things like that. That's what your profile is for. You want something short and sweet, but it is important to personalize those messages on why you're interested in their program. College coaches know when they're simply getting a copy or paste. You don't need to go crazy. You don't need to write paragraphs and paragraphs about why you're interested in that program. 1 or 2 sentences will do. Now, events are also very important. You're communicating about that. College coaches aren't walking around events trying to find the most talented student athlete. They are walking around events with a predetermined list of student athletes who have reached out, expressed interest, and let them know they are going to that event. So we encourage student athletes to send a message anywhere from 7 to 10 days before that event. Of course, if you get it 3 or 5 days before, that's totally fine, as long as you're sending it. If you attend a camp, we always encourage student athletes to send a thank you note after an event and ask for feedback. This is a really nice touch that we feel a lot of student athletes may forget, but this doesn't go unnoticed to college coaches. Any updates around academics? You have your transcripts, you've taken the SAT or ACT, and then anything about video. Again, don't let it sit there on your profile. Reach out to college coaches, let them know it's there, and ask for feedback. And then with, after September 1st, or even if you're interested in D2 and D3 schools, setting up a phone call, setting up a visit, just trying to learn more about those programs.
The only thing I'll add, particularly with the introductory message, is making sure that you don't write something that is super long. And I think Emily did a really good job explaining that. But again, keep in mind, especially if you're utilizing the SportsRecruits messaging system, we include the link to your profile at the bottom of the email. So if a coach has to scroll to get to that, that just lowers your chances of receiving those views and getting that activity. So again, be detailed, but don't be over detailed to the point where a coach has to spend a ton of time reading that message overall.
Yeah. And think in your shoes. No one wants to read a super long email. So short, sweet, and to the point. Yeah. And as I alluded to before, and as Mike just said, there's that link where when college coach clicks that, you get alerted all in real time. You can set up text message notifications, and that's when they come to your profile, your video, your transcript, or they open any press links. This is also a part of a pro subscription. We always do as well like to talk about the do's and don'ts of views. And, I think the first I want to start with the don'ts is when you receive a view from a coach, you don't want to message them immediately saying, "Hey, I saw you viewed my profile." It's a little invasive to that college coach. Think about if someone viewed your Instagram story and, something like that. So you definitely don't want to message them right away. You want to ask yourself questions, once you get that view. Am I actually interested in that program? Have I even spoken to this coach before? Is the program at the level where I'm at academically and athletically as the other schools I'm interested in? And if you still feel stuck asking yourself these questions, lean into your advocates and say, "Hey, do you think this school is a good fit for me? If so, I'm going to send them an email about this upcoming event," right? So it is really important not to message them immediately afterwards, thanking them for viewing your profile, and just really asking yourself those questions.
That's a fair point for sure. All right. I think that's everything that we wanted to walk through with you guys here tonight. Hopefully there was some valuable information in there. And everyone has a better understanding of what exactly September 1st is. More than anything else, not to panic if you don't get that immediate attention. And we see that there are a ton of questions that have popped in here. So we're going to do our best to try and answer as many of those as possible at the time that we have left. So there were some rumors. I see the first one right at the top of this. I think we alluded to this already. The open date is September 1st or September 4th for women's lacrosse. There were some rumors that it was September 4th instead of September 1st. The confusion there, and you'll see in the chat box, I included the contact recruiting calendars for each of the 3 sports September 1st is affected by. The reason why people thought it was September 4th is because of the dead period that is going to be active until September 4th. But once again, a dead period only limits in-person contact. It does not stop any sort of additional contact through phone call, emails, or text. And that is what September 1st is ultimately is all about. So even though they wouldn't be able to host a prospect camp or see you in person, they still are able to send that email or send that text message saying, hey, we love what we see from you this year. We're really excited to take that next step with you moving forward.
Also too, I did want to throw something else in the chat because I did speak about, different pro features that we have. I put a calendar in there. If anyone is interested about speaking about the pro subscription or the different recruiting guidance packages that we have, you can schedule a time using this Calendly link to talk to one of our recruiting specialists. We have a ton of different packages, that work for families who are just starting, don't know much about it, or, do have a little bit of handle on it. If you have a club subscription, though, you don't need to worry about this. You are all set and you have full access to the pro features.
Yeah. We see a couple of questions in terms of official visits. At this point in time, you're allowed to take one official visit per school. There used to be limitations on how many official visits you can take. That new rule is now available for you're able to take one official visit, but that is the only visit you can take at that school from an official visit perspective specifically. But we're going to keep, again, we want to make sure we answer as many of these as possible. So we want to make sure that we do this.
Here's a good one. Just to make sure I understood, if I email a coach, I don't have to attach the link to my page, correct? It should be automatically included. Yes, that is embedded. You do not need to copy and paste it, and you shouldn't, because that link that's embedded is special and it automatically logs the coach in. So no need to touch that.
Here's a great one. Is it possible to over email a college coach if it's your number one school? Yes, it is possible. It's probably it's something that you would probably have to really go off the rails to over email for sure. But the best rule of thumb that we've come up with is, I think it's something that we referenced earlier as well. Only reach out to a coaching staff if you're providing them new information that didn't have access to previously. So again, you're not necessarily reaching out and saying, hey, coach, how's the weather on campus? Hey, coach, did you see my last message? That is when it gets to a point where you can do yourself a disservice by reaching out to schools. But if you're providing new video, if you're letting them know you're going to be at an event, if you're congratulating them on a big win against a rival, those are all understandable situations where you are providing some sort of value. So is it possible? Yes. What's the best way to refrain from that? Ask yourself the question, what am I giving this school they didn't have access to previously? That's the best way to go about it for sure.
Yeah. Good question coming in. Do college coaches look at social media? Yes. College coaches will do a Google search of you. We actually just put on a social media webinar. So if you go to our webinar landing page, we dive into all of the do's and don'ts of social media. Some student athletes have specific social media to their recruiting process where they're putting, specific video and things like that. But definitely check out that webinar. We go into intense detail about what to do and what not to do.
Yeah. Another one that popped in here. Can college coaches look at your profile without you receiving a notification? As with LinkedIn, for example, is it possible for them to view players anonymously? If you're sending your email through the SportsRecruits messaging system, it is not possible. If you're copy and pasting a link to your SportsRecruits profile or copy and pasting a link to a video directly, that is where there's the chance that a coach can visit your profile without being logged in to their personal SportsRecruits account, which would mean that you would not receive that notification. So that's why for those who are pro users or for those who are showing interest in being pro users, we highly recommend reminding those coaches to click at the link below, because that gives us the ability to make sure that that coach is automatically logged into their account if they didn't access it previously.
Yeah. I saw a good question in here. Someone asked, can we have a link to the replay? Everyone's going to be sent a recording of tonight's webinar. So, and it'll also be on our webinar landing page.
This isn't even a question. This is just good feedback. This person said one suggestion we give to our players in our program is to make sure their profile has the athlete's email and phone number and not their mom and dad's. As coaches, they want to be reaching out to the student athletes directly and not speaking to your parents. Fantastic. Whoever that was, appreciate you writing that in, because that's really, really good advice for sure.
Yeah. Do college coaches see all the activity, communication / views? No. College coaches can only see your profile and nothing else. They can't see your target list. They can't see see, who you've been messaging. The only thing that they can see is your profile.
Yeah. Let's knock out a couple more here, Em. I think we have like a
Yeah.
minute or two left. Does
Yeah.
it help to attach character or coach recommendations to your profile? Yeah, absolutely. We would recommend the best place to do that would be in the press link section. So essentially, if someone wrote a letter of recommendation for you, have them send you a PDF or a Word document, whatever is the easiest way for you to access that. Upload that as a press link, and then you will be notified when a coach is visiting that part of your page as well. So definitely a great thing to include on your profile if you have access to it.
Another good question came in here. My daughter has a D1 school that said there is no scholarship. Should we continue to pursue? When you are going through those conversations with programs and you're not sure how to, breach that scholarship conversation, and even with this situation, you should ask for a financial pre-read. So what that is the college coach goes to the financial aid office and they bring you back, a document that says what they're able to provide in terms of aid and then what you're expected to pay. So just because you may not get an athletic scholarship, there may be merit scholarship available for you, academic scholarship, or grants. So definitely ask them for a financial pre-read.
Yeah, absolutely. I also saw someone write in about the NCAA eligibility number, so I just threw in a link to that. And it looks like I want to make sure that we also include that link to for people to schedule calls discussing September 1st as well. Let me just double check.
Oh,
Sent
yeah.
it.
I
Um,
don't think Great. Thanks, Mike. I just realized I didn't send it to everybody.
Yeah, so now everyone should have access to that. So if you did have specific questions about, the packages we have available or anything else that you wanted to kind of explore in terms of how you can get pro access and what some of those, additional support options that we provide, that most recent link in the box right now is the best way for you to schedule some times to get a better understanding of what options you do have access to. All right.
One more
Yeah.
question here. What should you wear on an official visit? That's a great question. We get that a lot. You don't need to be like super fancy, or I don't know if like super corporate's the right word. You can be relaxed, but just make sure you look appropriate, right? Sweater, nice jeans, sneakers. You don't need to be like in a business suit. Just, we say if you feel comfortable enough wearing it in front of your grandparents, then you can wear it in front of a coach. It's kind of
Business
the
business casual tends to be a safe way to go about it. Sometimes coaches will even be specific in what they're looking for you from that also. But yeah, I see some questions continuing to come in, but I feel like there's been a good amount that we have answered. They seem pretty
line.
similar. So that's a good place for us to start wrapping up here. Hopefully this was helpful for everyone who did attend. Like Emily mentioned, we are hosting a webinar tomorrow that is going to be going into more of the details of the college admissions process as a student athlete. So if you are interested in that, make sure you sign up. We always make the recordings available the following day. So even if you can't attend live, we always invite people to sign up if they have the availability to do so. But yeah, hopefully this was helpful information, guys. If there's anything else that we can do for you, again, reach out to our help desk at help@sportsrecruits.com. Schedule that meeting with our recruiting specialist so they can give you a better perspective on how we can even be more helpful to you down the road as well. But I think that's everything we wanted to discuss tonight. And any other parting thoughts before we wrap up?
Best of luck on September 1st. Again, don't panic. Everything happens for a reason. And just continue, to push through the recruiting process. Even if, you may not get that call on September 1st, it doesn't mean it's not coming from those D1 schools. So don't panic and just stay positive throughout the process.
Perfect place to wrap up. Thanks everyone again for your time. Best of luck moving forward, and we hope to see you in another webinar sometime soon. Have a great
Thanks,
evening.
guys.
Take care.